You know, the NHL came to Atlanta twice during the last half century. The first time with some success, the second time with pretty well no success. But the original Atlanta Flames, one of the best logos in sports history, but the team itself struggled and never got to the level of success some people predicted for him because of the great Cliff Fletcher being a general manager. Now, the Flames were a pro ice hockey team based in the Georgia City from 72 to 1980. They played home games in the Omni Coliseum and were members of the West and later Patrick divisions. Of course, later on, they moved to Calgary. Along with the New York Islanders, the Flames were created in 71 as a part of the NHL's conflict with the rival WHA. The squad enjoyed modest success on the ice, qualifying for the playoffs in 6 of its 8 seasons, but have very rarely uh, got past the opening round and failed to win a playoff series with only 2 postseason games won total. The franchise struggled to draw fans, and after averaging only 10,000 per game for the 1980 season, it was sold and relocated to Alberta, to become the Flames. Ironically, pretty well the same team with the same management got the Stanley Cup in '86 and won in '89. Now Eric Vale was the big star for the squad with 174 goals over his numerous campaigns with Atlanta, while Tom Laziak led with 431 points. Guy Chouinard was a lone player to score 50 goals in one season, and goalie Dan Bouchard, who embraced Christianity while in Atlanta like Boom Boom Geoffrion, led the team in wins and shutouts, didn't take away from his egotism when he started playing with the Nordiques, where I guess God told him he was better than the Montreal Canadiens. Only worked on one occasion, but that's a story for another podcast. Now, two Flames players won the Calder, Vale in 75 and Willie Plett in 76, who was considered a two-way player. He was a scorer and a goon. Now, Bob McMillan won the Lady Byng Memorial Trophy as the most generally player in 79. Typical friendly Maritimer, and general manager Cliff Fletcher, again, is the lone member of the Atlanta team named in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Now, the NHL, which had grown from 6 teams in 66 to 14 in 1970, had not planned for the expansion of League 73. However, the 1971 formation of WHA altered the NHL's plans and resulted in two leagues battling for players and markets, and it threw the salary cap out the window. The NHL sought to keep the WHA out the newly constructed Nassau Coliseum in Long Island. The league also opted to place the team in the American South. The NHL announced on November 9, 1971 it was expanding to Long Island and Atlanta. Now, the Atlanta franchise was awarded to Atlanta real estate developer Tom Cousins. He also owned the Atlanta Hawks of the NBA. They will play out the newly built Omni Coliseum. The team, get this, cost $6 million. Cousins named the franchise the Flame as homage to the burning of Atlanta by United States Army General William Sherman during the American Civil War. Now, the Flames hired Cliff Fletcher, formerly of the Blues, to serve as the team's GM. Former Montreal Canadiens player Bernie Boom Boom Geoffrion was hired as the team's head coach. The squad stocked his roster via an expansion draft held on June 6, 1972. Fletcher focused on goaltending, choosing Phil Meagher with his first selection from Montreal and rookie Dan Bouchard with his second. Fletcher drafted a competent roster, but only was young and inexperienced. 2 days later, the Flames selected Jacques Richard as the second overall pick in the 72 NHL draft. Very little success in Atlanta, but a lot in Quebec, but his life off the ice was also troubled. Now, they made their NHL debut in Long Island against their expansion cousins, the Islanders, on October 7, 1972. They won the game 3-2. Boris Steffi scored the first goal in franchise history and the first NHL goal in Nassau Coliseum. The team made its home debut a week later on October 14th. Hosting the first event in Omni Coliseum history, the Flames tied the Sabres 1-1 before a sellout crowd of 14,568. The team was respectable through much of the season, basically on the strength of Bouchard and Meagher's goalie performances, and by mid-January had a 20-19-8 win-loss tie record. The Flames won only 5 more games through the rest of the season, finishing at 25-38-15. Atlanta finished in 7th place in the West and missed the playoff. The team was reasonably successful at the gate. It sold nearly 7,000 season tickets by the start of the campaign and averaged a decent 12,516 per contest. Now, Tom Laziak, selected second overall in the 72 NHL amateur draft, joined the Flames for the 74 season and made an immediate impact. Lysiak led the Flames in scoring with 64 points and finished second to Denny Potvin in voting for the Calder. Now, the Flames improved to 30, 34, and 14, finishing fourth in the West and qualified for the 74 Stanley Cup playoffs. They made their postseason debut against the division-winning and eventual Stanley Cup champions Flyers. The first game, played April 9th, was a 4-1 victory for the Flyers. Philly went on to defeat the Flames in their best of seven with 4 consecutive wins. Jeffrey was praised for his coaching in the club and finished second in the voting for the Jack Adams Award as club coach. Now, this team had Bob Leiter as a big leader, the veteran NHLer. Now, when the NHL's expansion to 18 teams and 75 resulted in realignment, the league moved to a 4-division format, placing the Flames in the Patrick. Lysiak repeated as the Flames' top scorer with 77, while Vale, playing his first full season, had 39 counters. Vale's total led all rookies and earned the Calder Trophy. The team overcame an 8-game losing streak in December and injuries to several key players to post their first winning season at 34, 31, and 15. However, they finished fourth in the Patrick and failed to qualify for the postseason. Citing personal reasons, Jeffrey resigned as head coach late in the season. He was replaced by Fred Creighton, who had been coaching the Flames' minor league affiliate, the Omaha Knights. Fletcher later credited Jeffrey's outgoing personality as being the primary reason why people in Atlanta followed the Flames in the franchise's first seasons, while the team's players later stated appreciation for Crichton's more technical coaching and teaching style. Now, when Crichton produced a consistent but not outstanding team, the Flames finished third in the Patrick for the following 3 seasons and typically won a few games more than they lost each year. The squad qualified to playoffs in all 3 years, but lost in the prelims each time. In '76, they were defeated by the Kings 2-1. The Kings again eliminated the Flames in '77, but Atlanta earned its first playoff victory in franchise history in the second game of the series. Again, they lost their first series to the Kings 2-0. Now, Vale was the big hero of that contest. He had a game-winning goal in a 3-2 victory over the Kings on April 7th, but the Flames were eliminated in the third game. Willie Plett emerged as a young star for the Flames during this era. He scored 33 goals in rookie season of '77 and won the Calder. Now, seeking to improve his team's fortunes, Fletcher made several moves over the following seasons to rework the Flames roster. His goaltending tandem of Bouchard and Muir had begun to feud with each other by the '78 season as both sought more playing time. Ironically, there was a published report that they were cursing each other in the dressing room because they were doing it in French. Half the people in the dressing room didn't know what the hell they were talking about. Now, Fletcher responded by naming Bouchard his number 1 and trading Muir to the Blues for 3 players. They made it to the playoffs again, but were the only team to follow the team with fewer points than them, the Red Wings, in a best-of-3 series, 2-0. In March '79, Fletcher completed an 8-player trade that sent Lysiak and 4 players to the Blackhawks with 3 players, led by defenseman Phil Russell. Fletcher hoped the addition of Russell would toughen his team and achieve playoff success. Now, buoyed by the franchise record 10-game winning streak in October '78, the '79 Flames posted the best record in their latter years at 41, 31, and 8. McMillan acquired the Muir deal, became the first Flame under Lysiak to lead the team in scoring in 6 years, and along with Guy Chouinard, was one of the first Flames players to score 100 points in a season. Chouinard also became the team's first 50-goal scorer. McMillan won the Lady Byng trophy that year as NHL's best gentleman player. Now, in the postseason against the Leafs, Atlanta again failed to win a game as they lost a best-of-3 series, 2-0. They would have played Montreal in the second round. That would have been interesting. Now, Fletcher continued to alter his team's makeup through 1980. Al McNeil, the former Habs coach, replaced Crichton as bench boss prior to the campaign, and the team acquired Swedish star Kent Nielsen following the demise of the WHA. Nielsen led Atlanta in scoring with 93 points, including 40 counters. Now, at the '79 NHL entry draft, Fletcher selected 4 players: Paul Reinhardt, Jim Pawlinski, Pat Regan, and Tim Hunter, who would ultimately become regulars in the Flames lineup, leading them to 2 Stanley Cup finals. However, when the Flames again qualified the playoffs in 1980, they again lost in the first round, losing a best-of-5 series to the Rangers 3-1. Now, as the team stagnated on the ice, the Flames struggled at the gate. They only had an average of 14,161 in their second season, but fell to 12,258 3 years later, and then 10,578. Concerns that low attendance could result in relocation of the team surfaced by '76, prompting politicians and players themselves to purchase tickets in a bid to stabilize the franchise. Now, the Flames attempted to boost attendance in 1980 by signing Jim Craig, who backstopped the American Olympic team and the Miracle on Ice win against the Russians at the 80 Lake Placid Olympics, but it was not successful as attendance fell to an average of 10,024. Adding to the Flames' financial woes was the fact that the Omni was one of the last major arenas in North America to be built without revenue-generating luxury suites, which led Fletcher to describe the facility as being out of date when it opened. Now, Cousins announced he was seeking to sell the club following the Flames' exit from the playoffs. Their final game, a 5-2 loss against the Rangers, was played in Atlanta on April 12, 80. He claimed to have suffered significant financial losses on the team, while low viewership hampered his ability to sign a TV contract. Additionally, the real estate crunch in the 70s hit Cousins especially hard. Most of his money not tied up in the real estate interest was tied up in the Flames, leading him to put the Flames on the market. The Flames, estimated to have lost $12 million in his 8 years, have been rumored for months of moving to Calgary, though Dallas and Houston were also mentioned as possible destinations. Dallas got an NHL team in '93, when the erstwhile Minnesota North Stars relocated to the city, become the Dallas Stars. Now, the Seaman brothers, Darryl and Byron, had made an offer of $14 million, while the city of Calgary prepared to build a new arena for the squad. However, Canadian businessman Nelson Scalvadia emerged as a rival bidder for the team before joining the Calgary consortium. The group agreed to purchase the Flames for $16 million, at the time the highest price ever paid for an NHL franchise. The sale was announced on May 21st, 80, and the franchise relocated to Canada, where it became the Flames of Calgary. The Flames have since used the Atlanta logo for both as alternate captains and the team's former affiliate that played the AHL, the Adirondack Flames. Now, the last active Atlanta Flames player in the NHL was Kent Nielsen, who played his final game in '95. Several former players of the team returned to Atlanta once their careers ended. Among them, Lysiak operated a horse farm outside the city, Vale returned to operate a nightclub, and Plett operated a sporting theme park and golf course. Now, Fletcher would remain the team's GM until '91, steering the team to 2 appearances in the Stanley Cup Finals and a Cup victory in '89. The Flames would appear in the playoffs every year until '91, a streak of 16 consecutive seasons, dating to the 4th year in Atlanta. By the way, my mistake previously, it was $6 million to buy and $16 million on the sale. So he may have broke even. So now, when the NHL returned to Atlanta in '99, the Trashers joined the league as an expansion squad. The Flames and Trashers were ever in opposing conferences. This meant that the Flames, who were in the Western Conference, would play 1 game in Atlanta annually until the 2011 season, when the Trashers announced who were sold and relocating to Winnipeg, becoming the second incarnation of the Winnipeg Jets. Atlanta is the only other city besides Quebec City to have lost 2 NHL teams, in both cases relocating to Western Canada. Now, in their 8-year history, the Flames wore red and white uniforms with yellow accents. The set generally had contrasting color stripes with yellow borders along the sleeves, socks, and tail. A red shoulder stripe adorned the white uniforms. They carried the set over to Calgary following the relocation, replacing the Flaming A with a Flaming C decal in the front. Now, the Flaming C decal was ripped off by many hockey teams across North America, including my hometown high school team, the Dalhousie Condors, who did it in green, but that's another story altogether. Now, the Flaming A was later used, like by the Flames, to denote alternate captains. Coincidentally, their then sister team, Atlanta Hawks, also changed the colors to red and yellow shortly after Flames were established. They would keep this color until 2007, only restored in 2020. The Hawks also added black as a territory color in '92, with the now Calgary Flames following suit in '95. As of 2022, both teams currently wear black uniforms as third jerseys, while their primary uniforms dropped black from their color scheme. Now, again, made the playoffs 6 out of 7 seasons and lost every round, only winning 2 games. So 25, 38, and 15 in '73, then 30, 34, and 14, 34, 31, and 15, 35, 33, and 12, 34, 34, and 12, 34, 27, and 19, 41, 31, and 8. That's probably the best team I saw them have, and 35, 32, and 13. They never had any problem scoring goals, ladies and gentlemen. At one point in the '79 season, they were averaging 4 goals a game, but despite what everybody says, Muir and Bouchard weren't the goalie tandem that could hold down the score very often. So the personnel again, Team captains were Keith McCreary, Pat Quinn, Tom Laziak, and Jean Pronovo. Now, 3 members of the Flames were named recipients of NHL awards, of course, during the team's career. 7 players represented the Flames in the All-Star game. Randy Maneri became the team's first All-Star when he played in the 73 contest, also played with the Kings. He was subsequently joined by Al McDonough, Tom Laziak, Kurt Bennett, Eric Vale, Bill Clement, coming over from the Flyers in Washington, and of course Kent Nielsen. Now, there are 3 members of the Atlanta Flames organization to be enshrined in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Cliff Fletcher, of course. He also did management for the Canadiens starting in '56. It was a AGM of the Blues before hired as Atlanta's GM. Now, Pat Quinn, again in the Hall of Fame as a Miller, and Bernie Jeffrio was inducted in the player category, but the hopes of him getting as a coach, he did a terrible job in Montreal. Pierre LaRouche can tell you that. Now, all of the Flames radio and TV broadcasts were simulcast. The Flames games were televised over the air on WTCG 17 and on the radio by WSB. The legendary Jiggs McDonald was the main play-by-play announcer with Skip Carey, substituting from 76 to 80. Color included Andy Still, Bob Neal, Ed Thilnius, Bernie Jaffreo, and Bobby Harper. Pete Van Wieren also did play-by-play for the Flames. Now, these are the top 10 scorers for a franchise for the team while there, and tremendous players all. Again, Lysiak, number 1, 431. Vale, 383. Guy Chouinard, 294. Kurt Bennett, very underrated. 126 goals, 266 points. Bob McMillan, 221 points, 90 counters. The underrated Ray Comeau, 88 goals. Ken Houston, a very rugged player. Bill Clement, 176 points, and Platin Maneri. Ladies and gentlemen, there's many podcasts on the Flames alumni on the channel, so check out more in-depth information there. So individual records: Chouinard 50 goals, assists McMillan 71, most points Bobby in 108 and 79. Then Willie Plett 231 penalty minutes. Reinhardt most points to defenseman, most points to rookie Lysiak with 64, and ironically, Dan Bouchard won 32 games in 79. And God, I don't think it was fully on his side. So now games: Eric Vale 469. Goals 174 Vale. Lysiak 277 assists. Points 431 Lysiak. Penalty minutes Plett 738. Just with Atlanta, he's over 1,000 points combined. Goaltender games 384. Goaltender wins 164. Bouchard, of course, and shutouts. Bouchard 20. Anyway, the way he choked in Game 4, Game 6 against Montreal in the '84 playoffs, like I said, he played his best games in Atlanta. That's all I can say. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Atlanta Flames, a beautiful, beautiful time for hockey in the '70s, because they didn't play like a hockey team, but they looked like a hockey team. And those jerseys, my God, what a beautiful design! It's probably one of the best logos I've ever had the opportunity to cover. But back in the day, I hope you take this as honestly as I can tell you. You know, there's a game where you flip hockey cards, right? Throw them against the wall and whatever. So the 3 teams that the cards were always thrown against the wall, whereas the Seals, the Scouts, and the Atlanta Flames. So no disregard that, but I mean, how many people back in the day were big on Tom Lysiak, or or Simon Dolé, or Len Frigg? I mean, by the way, someone complained the other day, but I said about Len Frigg was a very interesting name. That's why we like hockey. Interesting names. You thought I was making fun of him. Len Frigg is not worried about his name. Half the people don't know what the word frig means. Frig off. I mean, how many people use that in 2024? That's a censored 1970s comment. But the Atlanta Flames, if they would have won a playoff, they could have won. I was wondering, like I said, in that 79 series where Atlanta could have advanced against the Montreal Canadiens, that would have been really, really a dynamite series. Because Guy Chouinard against Guy Lafleur, the 2 Guys, it would have been a lot more exciting than the 4-game sweep. I mean, beating Toronto in the playoffs by Boston and Montreal, and the Flyers and the Islanders were getting quite old back in the day. It was lucky that Lanny scored in overtime, because they couldn't beat any of the key teams in the big playoff series. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing here with our NHL Vintage Podcast, let us know in the like, comment, subscribe, or share.